Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. It's been about 3 months since I've done a video, and I've got a pretty good reason for that. But I do have news, good news now. I guess sort of good news. It's just news. It's news. Um, depending on who you talk to. I had a CT myelogram at Cedars on December 24th, and it was normal. So no leaks were found or anything like that. And I wasn't expecting that. That's not something that I was totally expecting, um, because CT myelograms don't always show problems. Um, it's really, really hard to find the location of a spinal fluid leak. It just is. Um, but one thing that was a possible clue was that during this test, they have to give you a spinal tap. And when they take fluid out and they put fluid in. And also during that time when they should be checking your opening pressure, just like you would when you go check the pressure on your tires in your car. It's a kind of a closed system, it should be at least, and you should have a certain pressure in your spine. And mine didn't really register. There was like spinal fluid trickling out, and the test isn't itself, a spinal tap isn't itself always very accurate in measuring the pressure in your spine, because there's reasons why you would get a false low pressure. And but nevertheless, the spinal fluid was just trickling out, and I didn't feel worse after they put fluid in. It was actually the contrast for the CT scan. They put iodine back there. So I tolerated that really well. It could have been a nerve that was blocking something, or it could be that I have really low pressure, which I kind of think I do, based on my symptoms. So what Dr. Shevink ordered yesterday, I went and saw him yesterday, is what's called an intrathecal saline infusion. And what they're going to do is they're going to admit me to the hospital for like 3 days. Maybe, I don't know, more or less, I don't know. But they're going to insert a catheter into my spine. I'm going to be sedated for this, for sure. And they're going to leave it there for 48 hours, I believe. And they're going to check, they're going to infuse me with artificial spinal fluid or saline to see if I get better. And if I do get better, if my symptoms decrease significantly, then they know there's probably a leak, or I'm not producing enough spinal fluid, or there's something going on. And if I do not feel better, if I feel worse, Dr. Shevink will discontinue his treatment with me, and which makes complete sense because this is kind of like the last resort for him, with me. This isn't routine for everybody, but for my situation, because I have negative brain imaging, my brain looks fine. So they just, yeah. Anyway, so I'm starting to get really scared about this because there are risks involved to this procedure, because there's basically going to be an open line to my spinal cord. There is a risk of infection. I could get meningitis from this. There's another condition called arachnoiditis that could possibly happen, which involves nerve adhesions, and it can be very painful. And it could it could kind of make treatment for me in the future a little bit more difficult. And then there also is a risk of permanent nerve damage from this. So, I could wake up every morning for the rest of my life and have tingling in my hands and feet forever. So, um, these are all of these things to consider, and it's not a small risk. He says that he has, one or two patients in 100 who develop complications. Um, so it's not like a rare thing, really, for it to happen. It's possible. I've made contact with other people who say they would never do it again. They said it was extremely painful. And so I'm taking that into consideration. There's really, at this time, there's no other options immediately available to me. I could try to make an appointment with somebody else on the East Coast to see me. But I don't feel like that's something that is on the cards for me right now. So I'm kind of stuck. And on one hand, I'm so glad that my appointment yesterday with Dr. Shevink was productive. I really had a good appointment. I feel like he spent quality time with me and answered my questions and answered Ian's questions. And, we have something that we can do. We can take action. This particular procedure is not something my neurologist had never heard of this before. This is not something that he is aware of. It's a super subspecialty. I'm completely a zebra at this point. And it's a little scary, but I know I'm in good hands. And for me, I'm in bed most of the time. I can occasionally get up and sit at the dinner table. I can sit up and record when I need to. But it really, really wears me out. I do try to occasionally go outside and walk, but it doesn't feel good to do those things. It makes me worse. People say to me, "Oh, don't you feel good to just get up and walk? Doesn't it feel good?" It actually doesn't, because I feel fine lying down. Like right now, I have my head propped up like this because I don't want to be laying back talking to you. And it hurts. I have a little bit of a headache and a neck ache. If I was totally flat, just reading my book, and I'm going to show you what I have. This is funny. Hold on. I have these. Okay, I have these things. They're called lazy readers. So I can lay flat and I can lay flat and see the TV. So I don't have to prop my head up to read or any of that. So they're $12.99 on Amazon, and they're like the best thing ever. Because even with my head propped up, I have symptoms, and I lose my words a little bit more. And if I'm flat, I feel fine. So no, I don't feel better, getting up and walking. Sometimes I do sit up because I can't stay laying down forever, and that gets really old really fast. And so I will sit up and do things until I just can't stand it anymore. So that's where I'm at. I'll be in there 3 days. I don't know if he'll want to do additional imaging. Some people have said that following this procedure that they then go and do a digital subtraction myelogram, which is, it targets the thoracic spine and magnifies it and can see a little bit more of what's going on. I don't know if that's going to be happening with me or not. The other risk involved is that it's going to make my leak worse. When they put a catheter back there, it's pretty big. They make a sizable enough hole to where they have to stitch me up following the procedure. So I could leak spinal fluid from that site and I could get worse. Um, if they choose to do more imaging on top of that, another puncture site, then again, that's another risk. So that brings me to why my appointment in November was so awful and why I have not been around for a while. My appointment in November, I did not have any doubt in my mind that this was what was going on with me. I mean, I was diagnosed with a CSF leak at Long Beach Memorial with Dr. DiGiulio. The radiologist seemed to see enough evidence to do this procedure called a blood patch. I believe those 2 blood patches I had at Long Beach Memorial got me out of the hospital. I was not even able to walk at that point. I walked out of that hospital without pain. And of course, a few days later, it just all came back. So that sent me on this path with Dr. Shevink. But in my mind, there was never any question about having a CSF leak. But when I went in to see Dr. Shevink in November, he said, it doesn't seem like these patches are helping you. You've already had 5 total. You need to go back to your headache doctor and, have him call me. And it was such a devastating appointment. Ian couldn't be there with me. So I was by myself, and I felt like he was abandoning me. And I felt that my options were becoming extremely limited. I can't just go to any hospital and get treatment for something like this. There's really, as far as the specialty clinics are concerned, there's 3 main clinics in the United States that are like the places to go. There are other places that are really great. Like there's Mayo. Some people have good luck with Mayo Clinic and some of the other hospitals, but it's it's a subspecialty. So Dr. Shevink is a vascular neurosurgeon specializing in CSF leaks. And so I left that appointment in November feeling so devastated. I wanted to have a normal holiday. I wanted to have a normal Thanksgiving. I wanted to have a normal Christmas. And I didn't get to have those things. I had a lovely Thanksgiving, and I actually did have a lovely Christmas dinner. It was difficult for me, and I was salty. I was in a bad mood, and but I enjoyed spending time with my friends and family. I just was having a really hard time. And I didn't want to make a video complaining about how everything in my life was going wrong. I just didn't, that was not something I wanted to do. And I took a deep breath. I talked to my neurologists. And what I realized is that Dr. Shevink didn't want to proceed because all of these next steps are very invasive. An intrathecal saline infusion is, to me, bizarre. And it, you think about, an infusion, like people go to their, boutique vitamin lounges and get an IV full of, B12 and Gatorade or whatever. And that's not what's happening to me. It's directly into my spinal column, and it's dangerous. So Dr. Shevink didn't want to just jump into this until my neurologists were on board, and he had a doctor telling him that I was improving with blood patches, not just me saying, no, blood patches work, blood patches work. He's not on the ground to see me and to see the results that the blood patches have. He's just the surgeon overseeing it. So it's extremely complicated. And so that's where I'm at right now. Like I said, I'm scared because this procedure is probably going to be painful. I'm excited to be in the hospital where people can monitor me and check my progress and see firsthand what my symptoms are and how I'm improving or not improving. So I don't want to have a CSF leak. I want it to be something else that can be fixed without putting needles in my spine, because the further we get, the more chances we have of harming me further through invasive testing. You know, it just is risky. So that's my update. I don't think I have anything else at the moment. I thank you so much for watching. If you got to the end of this, this is amazing. Thank you so much for paying attention. And I think the last thing I just want you all to know is that it's true. There are things in the medical world that are extremely hard to explain. And I have started feeling once again like, you know, between November and today or yesterday, that people were really starting to question me again. Are you really sick? Do you just need to see a shrink? Maybe you need to just get some more exercise. All of that stuff was just really coming back to me because I had such a terrible time in the first few years of my illness and continuing, where people didn't really understand the level of pain I was going through and how much I was trying to be normal, act normal. I mean, through all of this, I learned to ride a motorcycle. I bought my own bike. I did all these things to feel something, you know, I just, it's just been a really crazy journey. So I was going down that rabbit hole again of, oh my gosh, here I am yelling into the void and no one's believing me and no one's helping me and all of that stuff. Most people believe, I feel like so many people believe that if there's something wrong with you, you go to the doctor and you get it fixed, you know, and okay, yeah, maybe it'll take a little sleuthing to figure it out, but if it's really taking 6 or 7 years, really, come on. Yeah, it's a thing. And it's crazy. And I'll talk more about that later. But not today. I'm going to go now. And I hope you are all having a great first week back to school, first week back in the office. I don't know what it is, but 2020 is going to be, it's going to be better than 2019. I hope. I really do. I won't even talk about the political stuff right now. I'm going to go. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye.